There are icons in the auto industry, and I'd argue that the Honda Civic is certainly one of them, especially in the Canadian marketplace. Those watching in other countries might not be aware that this has been the best-selling passenger car in Canada for over 20 years. It's quite a record. Even though sales of compact cars are diminishing, Honda has put the pressure on by not only offering the sedan that you see here, but the hatchback, high-performance models in the coupe like the SI, and then the Type R, the ultimate Honda Civic. They call it Civic Nation, and many people, I'm sure watching, have owned a Civic at some time in their life, or certainly had access to one in their family. So this latest model is much bigger than the Civic has ever been. In fact, it's bigger than Accords from a couple of decades ago. Its styling, even though it's been out for a couple of years, in my opinion, has held up. Yes, there are some areas in the car, and specifically other cars that have like the cheese grater look on the front and rear bumpers, but I think overall the design has held up. It's got a wide, low, and long stance, and you would be forgiven for thinking it's a hatchback with this particular stand. It's not the case. It's got a trunk. I'm not really a fan of the hatchback. I think it's kind of blunt looking from the back. I think this four-door, in my opinion, is the better looking, and the coupe is absolutely gorgeous, but nobody's buying coupes these days. The one you see here is the touring model. If you get the turbocharged engine in Canada, you get the LED headlamps and of course the turbo engine. Wheel size is up to 17 inches on the sedan. The trunk is absolutely massive. You get the seats that fold down, so it's a very functional vehicle. On the inside, all kinds of features and a very comfortable cabin. So if you're somebody that's in the market for good basic transportation, don't just rush out and look at a utility vehicle. The Civic still, after all of these decades, has a lot to offer. Let's go for a ride. All right, I'm stuck in traffic now, and this gives me an opportunity to talk about what I like about the inside of this car. It's comfortable. The Civic, the last generation, was comfortable as well. Honda does a really good job of the seating position of the Civic. You sit low in the car, the steering wheel just feels right, and it's got a great driver-oriented position. Whether you get the base model all the way up to the Type R, the seating position, other than the seats in the Type R are heavily bolstered, is the same. So it's a great driving position. Then on top of that, you get the 7-inch display audio system on all but the base model, and you get heated seats. So this Honda Civic is a car that I've always put in the category of a driver's car. It's got great driving dynamics because Honda has always invested in an independent rear suspension. And when you drive this car, you get the sense that it is a driver's car. It's available with so many different options. So the base engine is a 2-liter 4-cylinder with 158 horsepower. Then you go up to the turbo, and that has 174 horsepower. And in the sedan line, you can then get the SI, but that's only available with a manual transmission, but it has 205 horsepower. And that, for me, is the perfect sweet spot for an everyday sort of fun commuter car. Now, one thing that's interesting, other than the SI, you can't get the turbocharged 174 horsepower with a manual transmission unless you get the hatchback, which I think is a bit of an omission. And in fact, if you get the higher performing sport versions of that hatchback, they do recommend that you put premium gas in. The great thing about this car, outside of the SI, is it runs on regular gas. Now this car has a continuously variable transmission, and typically I'm not a big fan, but because it's tuned so well, you can use it in different modes. So you have the Econ button here, which is going to optimize the transmission, the air conditioning, and the engine throttle management to give you the best fuel economy. But you can just pop it down into S, and it wakes this car up. And when you get the turbocharged sedan version that I have here, it's actually kind of fun to drive because it has this low slung attitude. It actually corners beautifully. The steering feel is good. It's a good everyday commuter car. Now, which one would I buy? As I mentioned, I think the sweet spot is the SI, but I like to roll my own gears. If you like a transmission that does all the work for you, this one actually in sport can be invigorating. Not as invigorating as the manual, but it's not bad. Now, Honda, credit where credit's due, really was the first brand to push advanced safety features on their mass-produced cars. and they brought it down in this car to what is the SE trim and above. So it's not like Toyota where they put it on every single model, but they're getting there. And I bet you when they go through the changes for this car in the future that it will be available on pretty much every trim level. Now, one other thing, there's no volume knob on the screen here. There is on the CR-V. They have put the volume knob back on, but it isn't available. You have to do it on the steering wheel or the slider. It is a bone of contention for many reviewers, including myself. It's just such a simple thing. Everybody says, oh, but you can just use that. But you know what? A button and a knob, it works. Put it back on, and they will, guaranteed. So I think you get a lot of value with this car, mostly because it's so well put together. It feels like a quality product, and it's so big. This is a car that would have been a mid-size just a decade or so ago, bigger than the Accord used to be. So you can use this for a lot of different things. For people in cargo, absolutely no problem at all. And the starting price is still remarkably low. So the Honda Civic sedan has an amazing starting price. In Canada, it starts at $16,700. Now granted, that's the base model, manual transmission, but the fact they're still offering that shows how committed they are to having a broad spectrum of Honda Civics available. Most other manufacturers have dropped those entry-level price points and moved over $20,000. The fact you can still get it says something about it. In addition, Honda is committed to saving the manuals. They offer the manual transmission in different configurations of the Civic, not all of them, but the fact that that is still available shows they're committed to driving enthusiasts. This car has above average handling, above average build quality in my opinion. It's made in Canada. It's amazing after all of these years that the Honda Civic is still the best-selling passenger car in Canada, and for good reason. It's a great car, really is.